Once, in a quiet village nestled between forested hills and winding rivers, lived a young carpenter named Elias. Known for his honest heart and skilled hands, Elias built not just homes, but trust. Every beam he placed and every chair he carved held a piece of his quiet dedication. But Elias's heart belonged to someone beyond his village, a kind and gentle woman named Leora, the daughter of a respected merchant in a nearby town. They had met at a local festival 2 years earlier and exchanged letters ever since. After much hard work and saving, Elias finally had enough to ask for her hand in marriage. When he visited Leora's father, the merchant studied him carefully and said, "I see goodness in your eyes, and I know my daughter loves you. But I must ask something of you. Come to our home on the first day of spring, and we shall discuss your future together. But come on time. A man who wishes to lead a household must be one who keeps his word," Elias promised. The journey from his village to Leora's town took only 2 days by foot. To be sure, he left 5 days early, carrying with him a wooden box of carved roses, his finest work, as a gift for Leora's family. On the first day, the sun shone warmly, the birds chirped, and his heart was light. But on the second evening, just before sunset, Elias reached a large river, only to find the bridge destroyed by a recent flood. The wooden beams had been ripped away and the water roared below. The next crossing was a week away, too far to make it in time. Elias stood at the river's edge in disbelief. He had prepared so carefully, left early, done everything right. "Why now?" he whispered, gripping the box in his hand. Just then, an old ferryman appeared from the shadows of a nearby hut. His beard was white, his cloak tattered, but his eyes held the stillness of someone who had seen many storms. "You can't cross today," the ferryman said. "The current is too strong. Wait here. The waters will calm in 3 days." "I don't have 3 days," Elias replied. "If I don't arrive by the first day of spring, I'll lose everything." The ferryman shrugged gently and said, "Sometimes what you call a delay is really a rescue. Don't fight the river, son." But Elias couldn't accept that. He tried building a raft from driftwood. The first one broke apart. The second carried him a few feet before flipping and throwing him into the freezing water. He barely made it back to shore. Drenched and shivering, he finally gave up and sat by the fire with the ferryman. Night after night, Elias stared into the flames, angry at himself and even at God. "Why would you let this happen when I tried so hard?" he asked into the silence. "Why would you close the path just as I was about to cross it?" The ferryman simply poured him warm tea and said, "Faith is not tested when all roads are open. It's tested when you're asked to wait." 3 days passed. On the 4th morning, a messenger on horseback came galloping up the riverbank. "I'm looking for a carpenter named Elias," he called. "I'm Elias," he said, standing. The messenger dismounted, breathless. There was a terrible fire in the merchant's house, struck by lightning 2 nights ago. Several were hurt. The home is in ruins. Leora and her family barely escaped. If you had arrived when you planned, you might not be alive. Elias was stunned. "They've taken shelter outside the town," the messenger added. "They said they could use someone who knows how to build again." Tears filled Elias's eyes. All this time he thought the river had betrayed him, but now he understood. The bridge was broken not to stop him, but to spare him. He crossed the river once it was safe and reached the town. He found Leora, tired, tearful, but safe, and her father, humbled by all they'd lost. With quiet strength, Elias began rebuilding, not just the home, but their hope. He cut timber with purpose, laid stones with prayer, and carved joy back into their lives. And as he worked, he told Leora of the river and the delay, and how the broken bridge had saved them all. That spring, Elias and Leora were married under a simple arch of flowers, surrounded by those they had helped. Years later, Elias would sit with his children beneath the same tree where he had once waited in despair. He'd tell them the story and always end with these words: "Sometimes God breaks the bridge, not to block your path, but to protect you from what you cannot see. You may feel delayed, denied, or forgotten, but one day you'll look back and realize the detour was the real blessing, the waiting was mercy. So don't lose heart. Even when it doesn't make sense, God has a better plan for you."